have an ambition? Trust your instincts. Move forward. This is your moment to shape your future, to be independent, to strengthen yourself. Your time is now. Accelerate your progress. Empowering your progress for a fulfilled life. Union Assurance.
I'm Zahirah Marty and you're watching Zahirah Marty. I'll be answering some fun questions of Living Gets Real.
Right, Zahirah, thank you very much for being on the show. It is a pleasure to have you with us today on Living Gets Real.
Thank you for having me.
So we have Zahirah Marty. She is an award-winning travel show host, a destination marketing and content producer, and has been traveling the world, giving us insights into different places and cultures and the food and the experience in itself. So Zahirah, let's start at the beginning. How did your journey into branding, media, presenting, and travel take shape?
Okay, I am South African. So I started out in South Africa working in a PR and marketing space, but also presenting on the country's leading lifestyle and travel show, which is called Toppling. I presented for a short while, and then I decided that I wanted to sort of explore international markets, and I left. When I arrived in Dubai, there wasn't really an opportunity to get straight back into television, so I focused more on what my study and my career base was, which was PR and marketing. I worked in luxury fashion, I worked in hospitality, I worked in nightlife, and through all those industries, I found myself on stage, emceeing events, hosting things for clients, and eventually back full circle to a channel here that used to do fitness shows. Did a bit of fitness shows, and then a few years ago, my crew from South Africa reached out, who I worked with 15 years ago, and said, "Hey Z, we're shooting a travel show for an American network. They're looking for a host. She liked what she saw. Would you like to present for us?" So there's a lovely lady based out of America that hosts a whole network of channels, and they were looking for a presenter for their travel and lifestyle segment. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm a bit out of practice, but I'm more than happy to jump back into it because I absolutely love talking about travel. In that period, whilst I was living in Dubai, I did a lot of travel personally, just because Dubai is quite accessible and you have a lot of long weekends and, you know, press trips and PR kind of overlapped a bit in the influencer marketing space. So it just made sense then to go back to what I know. The first trip was Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Our first shoot was back in Sri Lanka. We were in Kandy and absolutely loved it. Like that passion for what I did and storytelling and wild orange juice on the side of the road while driving to the elephant sanctuary all just brought back that love for travel and storytelling. And I think, yeah, in the shortened version I can give you, that's kind of how it all packages together. And now I do that. I produce shows. And I also train in the influencer marketing space, in the destination marketing space. I work with corporates like Investec or Visa to sort of work with them on how to upsell luxury travel to their top tier clients.
Oh, nice. Very interesting. And lovely to hear that Sri Lanka has been one of your first destinations coming back.
I've been to Sri Lanka 3-4 times now, and I absolutely love it. Like there's a different experience depending on which part of the country you're in. Everyone is so lovely. I eat way too much when I'm there. But it's such a beautiful part of the world, and such an incredible group of people. I love going back every single time.
Lovely to hear that. So, when in your point of career, when you realized that travel would become more than just a personal passion, that it would evolve into a professional calling?
It's hard to say that there was a turning point, like an actual point. I always enjoyed travel. I always loved. It's why I left South Africa. I'm not one of those people that left because I didn't like it. I love my country. I think it's one of the best countries in the world. It is. I'm biased, but I think it's the best country in the world. But I left because I wanted to see the world, and to do that on my currency was quite challenging. So I wanted to position myself in a market where travel would be more accessible. My initial idea was I'm going to travel for a few years and then I'll go home because I love being there. 15 years later, I still haven't gone home. I still love traveling. I still jump on a plane every opportunity I get. When did it go from a passion to a career? I think it was a very organic transition. There wasn't a turning point. There were times where I would be traveling and then you'd have brands saying, hey, I saw that you were here. Would you like to go and stay at our hotel there? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Or an airline would say, hey, we're sending a group of people to this destination. We like how you package your content and how you tell your stories. Would you like to join us in this destination? So I think it was a very gradual change, definitely a post-COVID change that really propelled me. I mean, I ran a PR agency for 12 years, lifestyle, hospitality. And when I went through COVID, I made the decision that I actually want to change. I want to do something that brings all the things I love together. And this job does that for me.
Okay, lovely, great. Okay, so you said that you started in television, right, earlier on in your career. So from television to travel content, what's one moment or encounter that profoundly changed your perspective as a creator?
You know, if you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, my answer would be completely different to what it's about to be now. Last week, I was in Kenya and I went on a UNHCR trip to a refugee camp in Turkana, up the top near the border. And I have had the privilege of working in luxury travel for most of my career. So staying at the most amazing destinations, flying the best class of airline, having the most incredible experiences. 2 weeks ago, my answer might have been something like fluffy. After being in Kakuma, which is the refugee camp in Kenya last week, my entire perspective on life, on travel, on humans, on priorities has changed. So we were in Kenya, we flew in with UNHCR into the refugee camp. We spent a day with the refugees, and then we spent the rest of the week in a conference listening to their personal stories of displacement and business. And it wasn't the sad refugee story that you think of, tents and poverty. It was a group of people that are like you and me, that are super smart, super creative. And the only difference is they had to leave where they came from for extreme reasons. And they have such creativity and such drive and passion and determination. And they've got so much less than the rest of us. So as of now, the turning point in what I do that changed my perspective is definitely when I touched down in Kakuma and realized that there's so much more to life than just luxury. Luxury has its place and it's beautiful. But as humans, we need to connect and support and uplift other humans for this world to actually stand a chance for our kids or our grandkids. And I think that was a big turning point for me.
Oh, that's nice. I guess that gives us a chance to also count our blessings, right?
Yeah,
in what we have as well.
100%. I'm fortunate enough to continue working with a lot of them who have like amazing business ideas and just want any advice you can give them on marketing or PR or influencer strategy or digital strategy. And the big thing, like the word of the week for me was trust. And a lot of them were like, just trust us. Because we don't have a passport or because we don't have paperwork doesn't make us any less trustworthy as a partner. And I sat with that for a while, and I was like, the only reason I will trust someone else over someone else is reasons that I can't justify sometimes. And here you've got creative, determined, passionate, incredible minds that have unfortunate circumstances, but why do I not instinctively trust them? And it changed everything for me. And the work that they're doing and the work that I will be doing with them, hopefully, is just super exciting for me and just makes you assess everything over again.
Okay, so you just wrapped up shooting in Sri Lanka for my travel diary, correct? What was your most unforgettable moment? Perhaps it could have been one, it could have been multiple of them. Just could you perhaps share some of them with us?
Yeah, sure. I want to say there was one that stood out for me, and for no particular reason other than it was just the perfect example of what I love about Sri Lanka. We were shooting on the promenade outside the hotel, the Gold Green stretch. And there was a group of vendors with their trolley, and they had their pickled pineapples and olives and whatever else. And then there was an older gentleman that had the windmills, the foil windmills that were spinning, and he was walking up and down. And I've never come across a grumpy Sri Lankan. That's the first thing I want to say. Like, everyone you encounter is so lovely and so polite. And I saw this cart, I'll be honest, at the start of my shoot, and I was like, I really want to try those chili pineapples. I really want to try it. I'm like, but am I going to get sick? How's it going to go? Should I? Like, it's blistering heat. I can't afford to eat something that upsets my tummy. So I left it. And they were so lovely when I went over to them at first. They were like, try this, try this, try this. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And I went, we did the interview, we came back, we shot with the guy with the windmills who took me straight back to childhood. Like, I could remember, I'm from an East Coast town in South Africa called Durban. And we have a similar look and feel to that area on our coastline. And growing up, we would spend time on the promenade eating pineapples with chili on a stick. We had the windmills going. So it literally took me straight back to being a child in Durban. And he was so lovely. We went up to him and we were talking about the windmills and shooting with the windmills, and he handed me the windmill. And then he took my hand and he like brought me around the back, and he's like, you hold the windmill, like you do it. And I was like, great. And then the guys with the carts were all standing there laughing and egging him on. And then we went over to them and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. It looks delicious. Like, it looks great. And they were so, so lovely. I stood there, I ate the pineapple. We took photos together. They were just so warm and so lovely. And I think for me, that was a moment in that shoot where I was like, this is why I do this, because I love people like this that run stands on the side, and they didn't even want to take money. They gave me a whole portion of pineapple, a windmill. I was like, please take this. No, we don't want to take it. And that whole like scene for me is Sri Lanka. That's the heart, the soul, the people, the food, just the kindness of the people that you find and encounter there.
Lovely. That's a very nice experience.
Yeah.
And yes, so that kind of food, it's called acharu in various different forms.
Yeah.
Is, I think, a favorite of all Sri Lankans. Give
Yeah.
it time of the day, they'll probably grab one
But
of
there
those.
was such variety. Like, he had like this massive cart with
Yes.
8 different types. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. So I tried the olives, I tried the pineapple, I tried something else, and they were all delicious. But they were just so like, please take. And like, that's the heart and soul. That's hospitality. That's Sri Lanka. That for me is Sri Lanka. Same with the wild orange juice on the side of the road. We stopped, we made it. He like did one, because when we shoot, we can't get everything in the first shot. So you're doing things over and over again. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do it again. And like, take another glass and take another glass. And it's people that don't have, but will give you everything they have, which I find incredible.
Lovely. Yeah, we saw some of that on your highlights on your Instagram page as well. Sri Lanka and the wild orange. Yes. All right. So, what's next for Zahirah Marty in 2025? Personally, professionally, and most importantly, creatively.
So much. I'm going to come back to the Kenya story and say that after being in Kenya, all I want to do is spend time there working with all the entrepreneurs and the creatives. So that's going to definitely take up a fair bit of time. My Travel Diary is a show that I'm fiercely passionate about. It brings me to tears on some days with frustration, but it's a project that I've dedicated this year to getting up and running. So getting our multiple episodes up, seeing it on screens in airlines, seeing it on screens in hotels, seeing it on channels across the world. That's a big goal for me. Lots of little business ideas and consultancy plans. But essentially, it's just really channeling all the things that I love. I've just started a coffee brand with a local producer here in the UAE. Super exciting project because we work with small holding coffee plantations across the world, primarily in Africa, and creating our own brand of coffee, but understanding where every cup that you hold, what that story is. Like, who is the lady or the man at the end of that cup that has harvested those beans, that has washed them, that has packaged them, that is living off the ground that those beans come from. And it's just a case of being conscious about the cup of coffee in your hand and the story that goes into it, because it's so much hard work that goes into every cup of coffee. And it is such a great source of income and empowerment for women across the world. A lot of the coffee plantations, particularly the small holdings, are operated by women. In a lot of countries in Africa, the government gives women these co-op opportunities to create coffee plantations. Similarly, like the plantations in Sri Lanka, like you walk through the tea plantations and it's women that are harvesting tea. I've been there with them, and they are probably close to double my age, even some of them, but they pick those leaves faster than I could ever keep up with. And it's the driving force that, like, you know what women are capable of, and they just need to be given that opportunity and platform. So coffee for me, I'm an avid coffee drinker. I absolutely love coffee. So it was a perfect merge between Roasteria, which is a brand here in the UAE, also run by a fantastic female business owner. And we're creating stories, and hopefully it takes me back to Sri Lanka to be able to go and tell stories of plantations and where sort of bean to cup experience. So I think that should keep me busy enough for the rest of the year.
Sounds very interesting. Yes, we do have a lot of tea plantations. But before actually we planted tea, it was coffee plantation. It started with coffee and then it went on to tea. But yes, there is a huge coffee culture out there. And yes, like you said, we totally agree that women have to be given the opportunity to also thrive and given the space to also grow in their respective fields. All right, Zahirah, so we've come to the end of the questions, which is our segment 1 for this show. And we have a little game for you, which is fun little questions we have. So we'll see you on the other side soon.
Okay.
The latest issue of Living is available at lndmall.lk. You can also access the digital version on Press Reader, Maxter, our social media platforms and WhatsApp.
We are back on segment 2 on Living Gets Real, and we are on to a game segment. So what we have for you is random questions. Some of them are serious ones, some of them are very silly. So just answer whatever pops into your mind when I pose the question. All right.
Okay. So I'm nervous. Let's do this.
Don't worry. Okay. So the first question. How does travel and seeing the world inspire you personally?
Through the eyes of the people I meet.
How many countries do you want to visit in your lifetime?
All. Every single one. My goal is to see the entire world and then see it again in a different season and then see it again in a different season.
So where do you feel most at home?
Oh, that's a tough question. The answer would have to be on the African continent. South Africa or on the African continent?
What is the most exotic destination you've ever been to?
Bora Bora in French Polynesia.
What is your current passion project? I think you touched a little bit on it, but there's something that you can just extremely passionate about at the moment.
Upliftment of displaced people in the world, and particularly in Africa.
What life experience has most shaped who you are today?
Becoming a mum.
Lovely. If you could travel to any year in a time machine, what year would you choose and why?
Oh, wow. I would say I would go back to 2005. And I would make a few different choices on the tail end of it.
What's on your current playlist?
Oh, so I'm terrible with music. That's something that is a fun fact about me. I am the most boring music listener, but I own it and I love it. So at any one time, I've got my gym playlist going, which has 12 different songs. I have a Shazam list. I have a really good friend of mine that has kindly created a much cooler Spotify list for me because he's like, you need to become cooler. But I do absolutely love Celine Dion. I have to admit it.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, brilliant singer. What is the weirdest food combination that you actually enjoy?
So there's a dish that we make, I think it's weird, that we make in South Africa, which is sweet. It's a vermicelli and condensed milk, I think, based dish. And I'm not a huge fan of rice dishes, but there's a certain rice dish, like a dal and a rice dish that my grandmother makes. And technically the sweet dish should be the starter or the dessert, but I like to have them together.
So what is the strangest thing in your refrigerator right now?
The strangest thing in my refrigerator right now? That's a good question. Trying to think what's after sun gel, after sun cream.
If you can be a character on a TV show, which show would you pick and why?
Oh, wow. If you could be a character on a TV show, I'd say Oprah. Who doesn't want to be Oprah? That's like a life goal to have a talk show like that.
What's the most sensible thing you ever heard someone say?
The most sensible thing. Lots of people dish out a lot of advice. Instagram dishes out a lot of advice these days too. So I would say, you know what? Everything comes down to the fact that you've got one life. Make the most of it.
When was the last time you tried something new on your travel? Something completely different, out of the box?
Every trip presents new things and new opportunities. Completely out of the box. I would say one of the crazier things I've done is probably hanging off the edge of Victoria Falls in Zambia. That was probably one of the crazier things I've done in recent times. A lot of the other things were not really too crazy. But yeah, hanging off the falls was probably one of the more exhilarating things I've done.
What gets you excited about life? When you wake up in the morning, what excites you?
Opportunity. The fact that every new day gives you a chance to do new things, try new things, be better. I'm a dreamer, so I will come up with these crazy ideas and then I'm like, but it's possible. I just need to figure out how. So I'd say opportunity.
So given a choice of anyone in the world, who would you like to work with?
So I would say, being in the industry I'm in, I don't have a name for you, but I'd love to work with extremely talented camera and crew. So director and crew that see the world differently, that push the boundaries on how they shoot, how they play with light, how they capture people. That would excite me.
So you imagine you have a very important telephone call to make, right? Do you ever rehearse what you're going to say before you make that call?
I think I play it around in my head in terms of how I want to position what I say. I come from a PR background, so naturally everything runs through my head as a press release first. So I always consider multiple angles as well, because I've worked in my career, I've worked agency, I've worked brand, I've worked influencer, I've worked presenter, and now I'm working in a producer space. So I consider every scenario from a few different angles before I go. Even if I go into a meeting or a pitch or a presentation, it's like if I was on the other end of the table, what would be the questions I would ask me? And then I prepare the answers to that. So I think having that multifaceted approach to anything, I wouldn't say I rehearse it in a script sense. I'm not good with scripts. Even on my show, I don't really work well with a script. There'll be a few key elements that we have to cover. But I'm very much about it's how you feel in the moment that's important.
So what would constitute a perfect day for you?
Usually an airplane ride. So getting up, maybe having my son on shoot with me, traveling with friends, a little bit of work. Like my work really feeds me. I absolutely adore it. I don't see it as work at all. So I maybe would say Africa, a trip, my son, my friends, and people, meeting new people, like spending a day in a village in Africa, meeting new people, eating with the villagers, watching my son interact with the kids in the village, learning new things, tasting new food. That would probably be one of it.
If you wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be?
To fly.
Okay. Is it something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time and have not done as yet?
I would say yes. Writing a book. Yeah, there's one in the work. Hopefully it makes it to the shelves in the next 12 to 18 months. But that's definitely, it's a kid's storybook. It's inspired by travel, but it teaches kids through travel about ideas of acceptance, tolerance, racism, cultural understanding, appreciating people for their differences, taking time to understand people in different circumstances. And it's based around my son. So the manuscript, I'll call it a manuscript, it's not a book yet. The manuscript is called Noah's Adventures, and it's set in different parts of the world, and you see the world through Noah's eyes. My son's name's Noah. Because one of the things I've learned is the world is completely different to children. And as adults, we've got so many filters and barriers to how we see things and how we see people. But when I travel with my son, which is what I find really eye-opening, he's a wonderful traveler. But in South Africa, for example, we've got a lot of informal settlements that are pop up in urban areas. And we would call them either squatter camps or informal settlements or whatever. But it's essentially people that take whatever material they can find to build a home. So it might be a sheet of iron, a piece of wood, an old whatever. And they do whatever they can to build these shelters. And when you put them together, traditionally, if you're not living there or if you sort of, part of that community, you're a little bit afraid. There's definitely fear when you see it because it's unknown of who's going to live there and what that impact's going to be on your personal life. You're a little bit sort of concerned because of your land values and, all the things that come with those sorts of settlements. But when I drove past one with my son, I would say not even a year ago, he looked at it, and where my mum would kind of be, lock your doors, be careful when we stop at the traffic light, this 7-year-old looked at it and went, Mum, it's so creative how they built their homes. He's like, wow, Mom, look at how they use so many things. He's like, it's like recycling for their homes. And I thought that is such a beautiful way to compare how we see something with our frame of reference to how he sees something in a world where there's less fear, there's less prejudice because someone looks different or their home looks different or their circumstances are different. He sees creativity where we see crime, essentially. He sees fascination and inspiration where we see concern and fear. Like, it's just the way children see the world. If we could bottle that up and spread that around a bit more with grown-ups, I think that would really make a big difference in the world. And essentially that's what the books are designed to do. The first one is set in Soweto, a township in Johannesburg. And again, it's a part of the world that a lot of people are scared to visit. They don't want to go to Joburg because of the reputation it has. They don't want to go to Soweto because it's a township. And why would you go into a township? Soweto is one of the most vibrant places I've ever been in the world. from the food to the people to the dancing to the music to the art, it's one of the most incredible places you could visit. But you just got to climb over the prejudice or the preconceived notions you have of it to enter it. And then you have the best time. So the very long answer to your question is that is what it would be.
What is the one thing that annoys you the most?
Prejudice.
So, say you got into a flying object and you went to Mars.
Okay.
What would you do there for fun?
Probably have like dance parties in the sand. Yeah, like what, that sounds super cool, like a Mars rave with like a cool goggle situation. Yeah.
So, where would you go if you were invisible?
Where would I go if I was invisible? I think actually, if I'm completely honest, and this is very cheeky, I would like to go into the homes or the meetings or the spaces of people making decisions about projects and pitches to understand the thought process. So if I could switch between being me and being invisible, I'd love to pitch something and then be invisible in the conversation where people are deciding whether that's something they're going to go with or not.
If you had a boat, what would you name it?
If I had a boat, what would I name it? Freedom.
Nice. All right. So we've come to the end of segment 2, which is our game. Thank you for being on the show. And you made it very interesting and you've been very candid with your answers as well. So we hope to see much more of content of your the creative stories that you do put out, which we do enjoy. And hope to see more cups of coffee coming our way. At least a story
Lots
behind.
of coffee, lots of destinations, lots of stories. Yeah, lots more to come. And hopefully lots more trips to Sri Lanka. I'm back in July. I'm at a wellness retreat in Kandy in July, so I'm super excited about that. And hopefully will bring loads more people, because I think Sri Lanka is known to some markets, but other markets just haven't discovered it yet, and I don't understand why. So yeah, definitely more to come.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Zahirah, again for being on the show, and we wish you all the very best and best of luck for all your adventures ahead of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
There you have it. Those are my answers to the questions and the game. Be sure to follow Living's Instagram and Facebook pages for the latest episode of Living Gets Real.